sister.
I'm Yasmin. I'm her host sister from Austria, Vienna. I work at the Austrian embassy.
Cool. Like a businesswoman.
Yeah, super I mean, you can see how serious I am all the time. So.
Yeah, of course. She studied in high school in Ehime, and I feel like a lot of people who want to study abroad want to come to Tokyo or Osaka and big cities because there are more information about those cities, but not so much in the countryside. So why don't we ask her, because she experienced the whole thing. So you came to Ehime how many years ago?
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
I was the second grade in Japan. I stayed in Matsuyamashi, but my first host family was 5 minutes from the school.
Right. So did you just walk to school?
I ran to school because I was always late.
You're not really a morning person, right?
I'm not at all. I'm a sloth, so I love to sleep.
yeah, me too. Anyway, and then you spend time with them for 6 months, and then moved to my house.
I was supposed to spend 6 months with them,
right?
But then I had to change it in between. So I went to a second host family in the first semester, only around 1 month, I guess, and then I moved to your place.
Okay, so you have 3 host families.
Yeah.
Wow, that's easy,
but
girl.
It's all right. My friend had 5 host families, so I think it was quite all right about that.
You can only pick the country, right?
Exactly.
And you can't choose host family, host school, or which region you're gonna end up in. So when you first time hear that you were going to Ehime, what came up to your mind?
I actually never heard it before. So the first thing I did was basically going on Wikipedia. I went to Google, and then the Wikipedia page popped up, and then I was trying to get my facts straight, because I only got to know where I was going 2 weeks before I actually went to Japan.
Ooh.
And then I didn't know my host family precisely yet, and I only got the information of your family.
Okay.
And I remember I wrote you, and it was oh hey, I'm gonna be your host sister.
Yeah.
And then you were yeah, that's true, but just in half a year. And I was oh.
What?
And I was oh, I thought you were my first host family, and then it turned out you were my second one.
Right.
And the first host family I actually only got contact with when I was already in Japan, so it was it was very, very, very spontaneous.
Yeah.
But still it turned out fine. First of all, it was kind of difficult to remember the name. Ehime, because I never heard it, right? Yes, as a foreigner you usually hear about Tokyo, or maybe Osaka and Hiroshima, and Nagasaki maybe, and then that's about it.
Right.
So when I heard Matsuyama, I was I tried to remember the name for a day. Oranges and some hills and mountains and the castle. It was my first impression of it. And I was quite excited, and because I really had no idea what to expect. I think in the beginning I was a bit skeptical because I was a teenager, so of course as a teen I wanted to be Tokyo, or maybe Osaka, or one of the bigger cities,
right.
But in retrospective, I think I'm actually really glad that I went to Matsuyama, because there is really not a high chance that you can get there, and I think it's a really, really wonderful place, because it's just it's very calm in a way, and you have a lot of nature. And that was actually one of the things I said to AFS before going to Japan, because when you go with AFS you have to kind of say, well, what kind of city you would like to live in, and there's this kind of criteria thing. And I remember I said I would like to have some nature and some water. For me, the sea was very important, because as an Austrian we don't have sea, so we have a lot of mountains, but we don't really have any the sea. So we always kind of like this sort of places because they remind us of holidays.
Yeah.
So I said that, and actually Matsuyama has both. So for me that was actually quite perfect and surprisingly. And what I really liked were the people. They were really, really, really friendly and open, and they always tried to help me when I had problems. I am very bad with orientation, so I get lost a lot.
I feel like in Ehime or Matsuyama, in a good way, we are not accustomed to seeing foreigners around.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
when we see foreigners, we just assume that they are studying abroad or they are traveling.
Yeah.
So when you have question, when you get lost, and then you try to say like, excuse me, I'm lost, and something like that. And even if you are speaking broken Japanese, they're trying to help you, right?
I remember that like a lot of people approached me because I was wearing the school uniform when I was going around the Shotengai.
Yeah.
So I guess that was kind of like a special thing.
Right,
and I think
right.
it still kind of is. It's like,
You became like one of the popular person in Ehime, right?
maybe.
How did you improve your Japanese skill?
Well, I think just talking. At high school, like everything was in Japanese, and then at my first family, they were not speaking English either. So I had a really small dictionary with like German and Japanese translation. So I always had that with me because again, no smartphones, so there was no there was no dictionary on my phone. So old-fashioned way. But I think after the third month or so, I was able to understand enough that I would be able to communicate with my classmates. Like, of course, my grammar really, really sucked. So it was broken Japanese.
But
still, it was like slowly going there. And then what I basically did was just talking with my classmates. So I was like always asking, so, oh, what's this in Japanese? Or what's that? And how you say that?
Yeah.
And then like they were just trying to explain it to me. And then of course I used my hands a lot. So I still have that until today. So I use a lot of hands and a lot of like sort of expressions to express myself, and it actually really works good. So
did it actually help that nobody spoke English?
Yeah.
Because like in Tokyo, you see a lot of people who can speak English, right? So like maybe if you study abroad in Tokyo, you didn't get Japanese that quick.
Yeah.
Because like you could ask questions in English and communicate in English.
Yeah. It's for sure it helped that nobody was speaking English around me. So in high school I had no other chance to speak Japanese because otherwise I would not be able to make any friends. Another thing that's very different is like you just kind of get slang words or like a bit of like Kogan, like dialect words that you would not get if you were just in Tokyo. So I still like my vocabulary today. It's like, it's alright, it's decent, I guess. But I'm not perfect in Japanese. But what I find very funny is like I usually know words that other people don't know that have a way higher level than me. And I think that's because I stayed with Japanese people 24/7 when I was 16.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really cool part about the experience.
Yeah, that's very cool. So you had a huge incident when you were staying in Ehime. That's a huge news entire world, which is
Fukushima crisis, to put it short.
Right. So even though we didn't have any effects from that earthquake, because we are far from that place, but still Austrian government and probably Germany too, right?
It was basically all the Europeans.
Right. Told her and also other exchange students to instantly come back to their home.
I got like a text from my friend who was staying in Hokkaido with the same program.
Right.
And he basically prepared me for this thing because he said like, just be sure like maybe you're gonna get a call today and you're gonna be sent home tomorrow. And I was like, oh shit. So I went to school already like shaking and they said, okay, go home, pack your things, tomorrow you're flying home.
Yeah.
So I had 24 hours basically to pack half a year's life.
Yeah.
Which is very difficult.
And you couldn't really say like proper goodbye to your friends.
No, it was one of the saddest days probably of my entire life. It was like, I mean now it sucks, but you know you can come back anytime and we will meet again and it was kind of, even though it was such a rapid goodbye, it was kind of a nice one. I guess.
And then you did come back.
Yeah, I did. Even though I had to leave Japan in such a bad way, it always came back to me, and I never really think bad of it.
You had a lot of hard times
I had a lot of hard times, but like I think they somehow made me me and made me a better person in a way, and Japan will always be a part of my life, and I'm actually quite happy about it.
But now you have experience in living in Tokyo
Yeah.
and Ehime.
Yeah.
Which do you prefer if you have to pick one?
I would say Ehime actually.
Yeah.
No, because as a foreigner, you always hear about Tokyo. You hear, oh, it's so cool, it's so spacey, and you kind of have that image of Japan. Maybe you have Kyoto as a contrast,
Yeah.
but that's about it. You don't really see like the real outside of the city.
Yeah.
Basically.
Like true Japan.
True Japanese
Yeah.
cities, like small ones. I love Tokyo, of course, and it's a great city, don't get me wrong, but there are so many people.
People.
And like
People.
for me, tiny Austrian, coming from a country that is like, we have 8 million people.
Okay.
So we're really small. And then coming to Tokyo where you have 32 million people, it's just so crowded and so busy everywhere, and it's like not really a city you can rest.
True.
And in contrast, Matsuyama and Ehime was very local and very calm, and I kind of liked that because it was as a foreigner especially, I was not just a tourist there, I felt a bit more like home.
Right.
The people were way open, like the Tokyo people, like all the Tokyo people, I'm sorry. And also like it was more like slow, and like they took their time more than here where it's just like rushing.
Like
all
go to
the
work.
time. Go to work and go like in this subways that are super full.
Yeah,
at rush
and then,
hour,
like,
And then like pushy and like just like mind their own business, whereas people in Ehime are like more down to earth, I would say, and like more caring and like more like, oh, why are you here? And I had real friends there, and they were like, I don't know, it was just like a very nice experience that I think not many foreigners are able to make. I think it really, like living in the more countryside of Japan gives you kind of a very, very different picture of the country.
I went to other country, but I've never been a host family, so it was really nice. We fought a lot, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Like, so we are like actual sisters,
Yeah.
you know. So we come sometimes like we loved each other, we hate each other, and then we fought, and then like, you know, it's like
That's part of the experience,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think that's like, I mean, for example, until today, like even though like now we couldn't meet each other so much, it doesn't feel really weird. It's like
No.
as if nothing ever happened in between, which is like, hey,
yeah, hey, what's up?
what's happening? Like moving onwards to like where we have left off. So it's nice.
It's a wonderful experience, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking time
you're
and
welcome.
have this conversation with me.
Bye.
Bye.